Hey guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel, Peter Watches TV, where I watch all the TV shows and then I come over here and I react to them. And today I want to talk about a new documentary that I just finished late last night, and it is called Trainwreck American Apparel, and it is on Netflix. Okay, so I have been watching a lot of these Trainwreck documentaries on Netflix. I watched Poop Cruise, I've now watched American Apparel, I started the Astro World one. I'm going to try to watch all of them and cover them over here. Honestly, of what I've watched so far, I think these Trainwreck documentaries on Netflix are fantastically done. I think they're really, really well done. They conclusively tell the whole story. So it's like less than an hour documentary, each one. If you watch my last reaction that I did to Trainwreck Poop Cruise, which was about the cruise that happened, I think it was like 10 years ago, where everybody got stuck out at sea. Anyway, that whole documentary was done very, very well. They interviewed a lot of people that were on the cruise. They interviewed workers. They told the whole story. It felt very conclusive from beginning to end. So it was really interesting for me to watch, especially going into it not really knowing a whole lot about that story. And so I just was intrigued with it. And so I was like, I think I'm going to watch more of these Trainwreck documentaries. I think that Netflix now has up I think there's 4 or 5 Trainwreck documentaries, and they're planning to continue to put them out. I looked it up. It's like a production team that puts these all together. They are really, really well done. And the way that they do them, that makes me think that they're done so well, because I watch so many true crime documentaries, and I would consider these true crime documentaries. I watch so many documentaries, so many true crime documentaries. I'm trying to cover everything that I watch over here, so in the next week, I'll be maybe filming 2 videos a day, some days over here. I've got so many shows to catch up on. But the way that they do it that is so fantastic is that they start telling the story from the beginning, and then they go all the way through to the end, but they interview people from the inside, people that were very close to the story, people that worked, people that were affected by it, on whatever story it is. And so like with the Astro World documentary, they start showing people that were actually at Astro World. And then they start talking about people that were part of the planning of the event. With Poop Cruise, they talk to people that were actual guests on the cruise. They interview them. And they also interview people that worked on the cruise and things like that, newscasters from CNN. And on the American Apparel documentary, they interviewed mostly people that worked in there. But it's not just about the interviews, it's the genius in who they interview. And I think if you watch a lot of documentaries, or a lot of true crime documentaries specifically, you'll know what I'm talking about. When you watch a documentary and it's like the person that's interviewing doesn't know what questions to ask, or doesn't know how to really like pull the personality out. But it seems like each person that's interviewed for every documentary is done so fantastically. Like, you really get to know the person that's being interviewed, and they really tell their stories. And like in Poop Cruise, there were moments where the people they interviewed were hilarious, that were really, really funny. And then there were moments where it was very, very sad. And I think that it's testament to somebody doing a fantastic interview. I've watched so many documentaries through the years that sometimes when I'm watching an interview, like the Dateline interviews that people send to me, I get so bored watching the Dateline interviews. I started watching the Sherry Papini one that's 4 parts. And I can't remember what the guy's name is. I know some of you guys know him. I don't watch that much Dateline. I do not think that he's the world's greatest interviewer. I know it's not a very popular opinion, but I just don't, like, there's a lot of space in between the interviews. There's a lot of, really? Yeah. I mean, and so I like to watch a documentary where you really feel like you're hearing the person's story and their personality is coming through too. And that was very much, again, with this American Apparel documentary. Now, let me tell you why I was interested in this. I was interested in this because I think it was, I don't even know, like my husband and I, we've been together now almost 17 years, it'll be in August. And our first year or two together, we went to American Apparel. I can remember going to Miami and going to the American Apparel store there. I can remember some other cities that we went to the American Apparel. I remember my husband having American Apparel underwear, buying some of the t-shirts. I had V-neck t-shirts of American Apparel. I can remember the little tag on it. I really liked the American Apparel fashion. I really liked a lot of the ad campaigns. I thought it was very edgy. I thought it was kind of a throwback to the Calvin Klein ads of like the 90s. I thought that American Apparel was kind of doing all that. I also love the idea that American Apparel was building this fashion brand around the idea of find your own sense of style and just use us as the basis for it. As a person that loves thrift store clothes and goes to a lot of thrift stores, I love like Western shirts with pearl buttons. And so, you know, to put another, just a basic t-shirt underneath that, it was like buying American Apparel clothes were very interchangeable. So I went into this documentary being like, I mean, I don't honestly know when I phased out of buying American Apparel stuff. It's been probably 10 years now at this point. I don't know, maybe longer than that. I don't even remember when they shut down. I'll read that to you here in a second. But I did love American Apparel for a long time. So I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't know a whole lot about this story. The harassment allegations. I didn't know about the lawsuits, the firing of the CEO and the founder. I didn't really know a whole lot about this until I watched this documentary, and I thought it was conclusive, and I thought it was fantastically done. So let me get into this and explain to you, or give you the synopsis for the documentary. A new documentary about American Apparel titled Trainwreck: The Cult of American Apparel was released on Netflix. The documentary explores the rise and fall of the fashion brand, focusing on its controversial founder, Dov Charney, and the company's toxic work environment. It features interviews with former employees and insiders, shedding light on the brand's journey from a successful fashion phenomenon to a financial flop. The documentary highlights the following key aspects of American Apparel's story. Initial success. American Apparel was known for its colorful clothing, ethical production, and provocative advertising campaigns in the mid-2000s. So they would have these very sexualized, provocative ad campaigns, but then it would also be environmentally sound and talk about social issues and things like that. I can remember seeing their ads in magazines. I actually remember going to the store and they had a newspaper when you left, and it had a lot of their ad campaigns in it, but then it would also have meet this new person that works here, or this is an environmental issue that we really care about. One of the other things that they did was that their models were each named, and they would find them shopping in the store, or they would find them, working in the stores and things like that. And so it would say meet, John, or meet Carly, or something like that next to it. The charismatic founder, Dov Charney, the brand's founder, was seen as a charismatic leader by many young employees. The documentary reveals a darker side of the company, including Charney's chaotic management style and sexual harassment allegations against him. The documentary explores the toxic work environment created by Charney and how it impacted the company's employees. The documentary also delves into the financial problems that plagued American Apparel as it expanded. And so it goes on and it talks about all this stuff. I'm not going to get into all the articles and the details of all this. Dov Charney today, I believe, works with Kanye West for Yeezy. I don't know why that doesn't surprise me, but it really doesn't. They show that at the end of it. He says he doesn't fucking regret anything that happened to him. So it interviews several people that worked for him in what was called The Factory, which is interesting that they call it that because it made me think of Andy Warhol and The Factory and the inside people that worked within the inner circle of Andy Warhol. And so it starts with these people that actually worked in the stores, and then they kind of rose up and really had no job qualifications, no education to be doing what they were doing. And by the ages of 21, 22, 23, 25, were directors of marketing, directors of this, directors of that, managing 10 flagship stores. And then they would show a lot of clips of Dov Charney, the founder, just speaking horribly to the employees and just you're a effing loser and you're taking me down. On a regular basis. It wasn't isolated incidents. It was on a regular basis. This was how he ran his meetings. This is how he spoke to people. And then they showed about how some people lived at his house. This one guy that they interview a lot, he lived at his house for a while. He had his house in Silver Lakes, California. This beautiful mansion. But then there would be these women that would live there too, and they referred to them as Dove girls, and they would basically do whatever Dove wanted them to do. And then in exchange, the employees were kind of afraid of them and whatever. They don't really get into a whole lot of that. What happened was that Dov Charney never really shied away from the fact that there was a lot of sex that was happening within the company, with him, with other people. One woman shared that there were people that were having sex on the stairs at one point. That was a very sexualized environment. And so towards the end of the documentary, they start talking about, I would say the last third, about how there were allegations of sexual misconduct, sexual harassment, things like that that had come out from very young women that at the time were 17, 18, 19 years old. The problem was that when they went to the attorney, initially it was one woman, and then I think it ended up being 3 to 5 women that came out afterwards. That they all had to sign these NDAs basically that said that they would never come out and speak against the founder, Dov Charney. And so when they took these cases were basically, like, they could never go to a court trial. It was stuck in arbitration because they could never, like, their voices could never be heard. He silenced them, basically. And so it took a lot of legal work for their cases to be heard. And really what they ended up having to do was change the law, that employers could never force their employees to sign waivers like this or NDAs that would silence them. And that's what this one woman says at the end. It's horrible what happens to these women. It's absolutely horrible. And this one woman says, out of everything they took from me, I feel like he took my voice by signing this paper. And they all go in there and they talk about, like, each pay raise they got, each promotion, that they would have to sign this NDA that basically would say, yeah, they didn't read all the fine print, but it would say, we'll never come out. And they just signed it because this was, like, it's really sad. This one guy at the end who was, like, really, really close, lived in the house with him. They interview him through the whole thing. His name's Johnny something. He said, like, there were so many, when I started seeing the truth of what was going on, he was like, I really felt like I should leave, but he's like, he was my ticket. He was like the only thing I had. And when you talk about that in a situation like the power differential within, like, companies like this, and I think that there's this, like, victim shaming that occurs in a lot of these documentaries where we say, well, why do people stay in this marriage? Or why do people stay in this living situation? Or why do people stay working in this environment that's unhealthy for them? Because of that fear of being homeless or of not being able to take care of themselves, or that, like, I mean, he would say to some of these people, you'll never work in this industry again. I will blacklist you. And you're in your early 20s, you don't have a lot of education. He also, like, when he would hire people, he would give them this bag, this starter bag, and in it had, like, a BlackBerry. I can't remember what else. There was a vibrator. And then there was this book, and the book was called, like, The 48 Laws of Power. The guy that wrote this, he ended up putting on his board of directors when they went public. So American Apparel went public stock. And he would give everybody this book. Well, most of the people that work for the company never read the book. And so at the end of the documentary, they start having them read parts of the book. And the book is so allegedly points to, like, cult behavior of only tell your people enough to get by, but don't tell them everything. It's very much a sense of control kind of thing. And what they realized is they were being controlled this whole time. The main people that were interviewed, one by one, kind of get fired towards the end. And then the board of directors, because Dov Charney has now lost them millions of dollars, and he is basically just, like, sinking the ship of American Apparel, which he started, that they terminate him as the CEO and the founder, which is then when he goes and works for Kanye West. But anyway, and he says he has no regrets about it, and he never once takes any responsibility for the allegations. He denies it 100%, said it never happened. It was a really interesting documentary. I think it was 55 minutes long. Nothing that I said will ruin it for you. The interviews of the people are fantastic. I mean, I think one thing is to watch it if you're... I was blessed in the work environments that I had, that I worked in very healthy work environments. And my supervisor was fantastic in teaching and supportive. But I do know people that are in really unhealthy work environments. I think this is a good documentary for if you have that question. Like, am I in an unhealthy work environment? I don't know. Is the grass always greener on the other side? And what mistreatment in a work environment really looks like. I think that it's a lot about the sexual harassment cases and their allegations and his lack of taking responsibility, but it's also more about the abusive nature of the work environment they were in. It was extremely well done and very, very interesting. And I also think the documentary was just kind of like the tip of the iceberg on finding out more. And there's tons of articles. I'm looking at them right now about, E! Online, The True Story of Trainwreck, The Cult of American Apparel, Dov Charney's American Apparel, A Trainwreck of Cult Fashion and Its Hidden Costs. These all came out within the last couple hours. So... very interesting documentary. I would highly recommend it. I'm going to watch all the Trainwreck documentaries, and I am going to react to them over here. So stay tuned. I've got lots of true crime coming for you. I've got lots of reality TV coming for you. I've got lots of shows that I've got to cover over here. So I will be back tomorrow with more of that. I love you guys. If you like to watch TV, hang out, and talk about TV, subscribe to my channel, and we'll hang out. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.